All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Kakadash. The abundance to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, citation to Yakim. All right, this is the New International Dictionary of Biblical Archaeology, and I've been doing several lessons from this last few days. Jim and Son of Modin, you'll be able to find them. Now, we're at Ramses. All right, Ramses II to be exact. I call him Rat Bitch Ramses. And he was the one who met God. And he tried to exalt himself as a God. But the Egyptians were shown they were shown to be man and not God. And their chariots flesh and not spirit. This is what took place. But this is this is Ramses II. I want to go into the meaning of his name. And I also want to flip the page and see the end result of Ramses. Yeah, and when I say flip the page, I mean literally flip the page, and we'll see the end result of Ramses on one of the next definitions or words or phrases. But this is Ramses II. All right, and the Egyptian, all right, his name is actually I'm gonna read it from not on the screen, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to adjust my screen. Is Ramzu, which is Ra, essentially is the sun god, and says in the latter part is the one who begot him. So he was saying his name is Rasum, all right, which a pharaoh of the 19th dynasty noted for his monumental building activity. How did he build? How did Ramses build? Did we not reflect in the book of Exodus? And can we not reflect in the book of Exodus and see how Ramses built? Ramses built with the children of Israel, and they built for him treasure cities, both Pithom and Ramses. That's in the book of Exodus. I believe that's the 3rd chapter. They built for him Pithom and Ramses. All right? And Ramses took over the city, the fortress city, the capital city of the Hyksos previous dynasty, which was called, I believe it's, what was it? I believe it might actually be in this this reading. So I'm gonna continue on, but it starts with A. I'm gonna continue on. It says it says noted his monumental building activity, who ruled in 1230 to 1224 BC. All right. And we understand that, essentially Ramses was the pharaoh that was in charge during the time of the Israelites in the latter days of them being in Egypt. That's why you see the date 1290 to 1224 BC. Remember, the reigns of Solomon and David were roughly 1000 BC, 900,000 BC. All right. So this was very near to the time we were in the wilderness for a few hundred years, well, not in the wilderness. We were in the wilderness for 40 years, but we dwelt in the landmass of Canaan before our unified monarchy for a few hundred years. And we had to weed out the Hittites and the Amorites, which essentially are the same people. They're both Hamites, different tribes. And we had to root out the Girgasharites and the Jebusites and all those other heathens, those maggots. All right. It says the reign of Ramses II was the high water mark of the 19th dynasty. A fact reflected, and see, he was charged during the 19th dynasty. It says, in continuation, long period of peace attended upon his rule. Why? Because he had Moses as a military general in his army. That's why you had peace. It's not because of your own strength, maggot. All right. And he had the wealth. How did you get the wealth, Ramses? How did you get the wealth? You got the wealth when Joseph made the right decision during the time of the Hyksos to, because of his vision, or the vision of the king or the pharaoh of that time period. I believe that was 12th, 13th dynasty, 14th dynasty. He had the vision to store up for 7 years. You can find this in the Bible. You can find this in the book of Genesis, Well, they stored up, the Egyptian empire stored up for 7 years, for preparing for 7 years for famine, and everybody got rich. I mean, they got rich off of everybody because everybody was didn't have any food to eat because it was a 7 year famine. And that's why a lot of people came from they call West Semitic, and they include the Amorites. First of all, the Amorites were not a Shemitic people. They spoke a Shemitic language, being the Hebrew. That's why you call it the Phoenician. But they were Hamites. They were not Shemites. That's why they tried to change the word from Sem to Shem, from Shem to Sem. It's not Sem, it's Shem. And then now they even talk about that to be anti-Sem or Semitic. They saying that that's to be against Jewish people. When in this very book they call the Amorites Semitic, when those are not Jewish people. They spoke Paleo Hebrew, not this shit that y'all speak. Y'all speak some stuff that's infused with Greek. It's not even Hebrew. They spoke the Paleo, the Akkadians spoke the Paleo, but they weren't even Semites. This is what I'm saying. These guys are confusing. They confusing people. You're supposed to base it off of genealogy. Just base it upon genealogy. Because they say these terms because they know certain people will understand it, but other people won't understand if you say Semitic. They'll think that they descend from Sem, but that's not what the Amorites were, and that's in the part of the Hyksos of this book. They said that. That's why we had to correct them. It says, and so look right here. This is Ramses II, that rat garbage. It says detail. It says seated granite statue, 1.94 meters. The king wears a blue war crown with the Uraeus raised cobra, and this is the sun god. This is he proclaimed to be the son of God because they looked at God as Ra, as the sun. That was the most high for them, but he was not the son of God, because what they did is they took the stories of Noah from that time period, Noah and their ancestors, and they twisted it, and they said that they were those people when they were not the sons of God. Did we not already establish in the book of Exodus that now the dogs shall open their tongue against the children of Israel, and you should know that Yahweh do have said the difference between the Egyptians and Israel? Is that not written in the book of Exodus? He put a difference between us, and that's why you bastards died, and your firstborns died. And Ramses, bitch, you died at the Red Sea. And now we get to talk about you, of what not to be. It's a long period of peace attendant upon his rule, and they try to get the credit to Ramses instead of Moses. Okay, thank you. Anyway, can never get credit. It says, as well as in the monumental architecture of the time. That's because he had Hebrews doing that. It says, that's why you had Israelites building pyramids in Mexico, and in North America, and in South America. There's pyramids throughout. There's pyramids in Mexico bigger than the pyramids in Egypt. Why? Because those are Israelites. Stop playing. They don't never try to give us the credit. They always try to give the credit to these heathens. Also with American inventions. We made the washing machine. We made the stoplight. All right, we invented rubber. We invented the cotton gin. We invented the light bulb. We invented the modern toilet. We invented the modern GPS. But they don't give us credit. They try to make it look like, oh yeah, Egypt was so great. You were great because of Israel. You were great because of the Israelites, man. These guys, man, these guys are characters. You heathens, man. Do you not know that we're the salt of the earth? That's why America is known as Egypt, because they take credit for the Israelites when they really, when they had us in slavery. It says for the first 21 years of his reign, foreign affairs commanded much of the monarch's attention. As the growing powers of the Hittites, and this is what they feared. They feared Israelites joining on with the Hittites. All right. It says, challenge the traditional suzerainty, which is like saying sovereignty of Egypt, the rulership and jurisdiction of Egypt, and Central and North Syria, because Egypt was powerful back then during Ramses. This bitch nigga. Egypt control all the way up into Aleppo and Damascus. They control up in Egypt. Up in Syria. Which, if you got a map and you look at Egypt to Syria, that's a lot. That's the major trade route. Anything that came in from any any products from ivory, from Nubia, so on and so forth. They brought that up the Nile River, and the products that they made and manufactured in Egypt, and they brought it and they traded up through the land of the Amorites and the Canaanites in Jerusalem and Megiddo and Damascus and Aleppo. These guys were rich as freak. They were rich as fuck. But then the scripture speaks about the children of Israel spoiled the Egyptians. When we left, they just threw their gold out to us and gave us all their gold. But they're like, damn, killed our firstborn, just leave us. Yeah, bitch. That's what's going to happen in America. But we're not going to give a fuck about your silver and gold. You got the UN talking about the country should be considered paying reparations for slavery. Fuck your reparations. Get ready for slavery yourself. Give a damn about no goddamn reparations. Yahweh Shemel Shah is about to destroy this place. It says, in the 5th year, he undertook what was intended to be a showdown battle with the, all right, let's go into a battle of Hittite, which the Egyptians records, they say that they did a good job, but that's questionable. Point being, I'm gonna go to the next page because it's the spirits set it up like this. Who is after Ramses II? The Red Sea is on the next page. And that's the Pharaoh. This guy died in the Red Sea because he's an idiot. He should have never tried to exterminate us. This is what you heathens don't understand. You're trying to exterminate the Israelites. You're about to lose. Lord about to kill you. All right? It says, Red Sea, together with the 2 northern branches, the Gulf of Aqaba, and that's where, essentially in the vicinity we crossed. It says, in the Gulf of Suez, it forms part of the Great Rift Valley, which extends from north of the Sea of Galilee south into Africa. It separates Egypt from Arabia. All right. It says, and that's modern days, because in the ancient world, Egypt was on both sides of the no, pardon me. No, that's right. I'm thinking about the Nile. Yeah, that's correct. It does separate Egypt from Africa, from Arabia. Yeah, they're correct. Yep, you are correct. Yes. It says the term in the Old Testament, Yam Suf, which is it's like saying Mayam. All right, because Mayam is like pertaining to waters, or like Mayam is waters. It says it's used particularly of the Bitter Lakes regions, because it's a vicinity where there's a lot of bitter lakes between the Gulf of Suez and the Nile Delta. It's actually a map of this, I think. Give me 1 second. I don't want to lose this page. I think they got moved. Look at that spirit. Initiate, get it. Let me see here. And this is a good book, man. I'm serious. Let me see. Oh, give me 1 second. Try to get that map. It says Delta June recognized, and particularly between the Gulf and Suez, now Delta. All right, see? Here we are. The Egyptians. Thank you. Goodness. Thank you, Yahweh Shemashah, for sending this map up. This is clutch. We were just talking about this. The Egyptians, this is what they were. And this is the culture and commerce of the ancient Near East. This is the ancient Near East. This is the Sumero-Akkadian Empire. These were Hamites who ruled these Hamites ruled the ancient world. That's why people don't understand the Lord allowed all these nations to rule already. It's time for Israel to rule. Look, Akkad, these were Canaanites, Amorite. Look, all this is Aleppo. Look at this. They ruled the greatest parts of the planet Earth. Nineveh. This was ruled by the Akkadians. Susa. Well, Susa was by the Persians. I think that remained in Persian hands. Or Elamites in hands. Elamiete. So the Hittite Hurrian Empire, kind of like a what you'll see, the Medo-Persian, is like a, but this is the Hittites, who are Hamites. They were also, you had Hittites out in here too, in different time periods. But see, you got Egypt and you got the Hittites. So it told us when we were reading about Ramses, he had war with the Hittites. This was the Hittites. This is Turkey. modern day Turkey, who those are Edomites there now. You see all these trade routes? This is what made Egypt great. All these people from, you know, Marty. This was a Hamite city. Babylon was ruled by Hamites, bro. This is the truth. This is before that. This is before what these folks be talking about, if I may say. All right, so let's go back. Oh no, we needed to go to the sea. Let's see here. And so they got the Red Sea cut off. No, that's not a good map for that. And Apostle Tahar, he's the one who's told us to get this book. He said, get this book. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get that. It's an excellent book. Let me see, is this map gonna work? No. Let me see. Dang. I wanted to see if it had it by the, I think they got it in this book. Dang. Let me see. Oh, this is the Sinai. Might have been looking online. I thought it was in this book. Yeah. You know, anyway, but it's in this area. This area. Essentially right there. That's what they were just talking about. Damn, I thought they had the map of Egypt. They did have a map of Egypt. They had it. Let me look in the front. They had that map. Let's see. Yeah, I was wrong. I thought it was a map of Egypt in here. Anyway, let me go back to where I was. I'm gonna keep reading. Oh, let me try to skip down to where it gets to speaking about hopefully Pharaoh. I should talk about it. Let's see here. Let's see, it's been observed. I want to get to the point. Okay, let's get right here. It says, it reads, it says the record of the crossing of the sea is found in Exodus the 14th chapter, the 10th verse, the 15th and 22. It says the Israelites moved out from Ramses, the city Ramses, which it used to be named. What was that city name? He changed the name of the city. Let's see if it's in here. Hyksos. Yeah, right here. That's what it says. His new capital in the Delta, Phi Ramses. That's why it's a stain on here. I just put that on mistake, but that's because he's a piece of shit. It says, pardon me, where were we? It says his new capital in the Delta, Phi Ramses, or House of Ramses, was built on the foundation of the old Hyksos capital, Avaris. See, there's an old Hyksos capital. It was an Israelite capital. The Israelites had rulership in Egypt before Ramses, but he was an ethnic Egyptian. We were foreigners. That's why the Hyksos were called. The name of the Hyksos were foreigners, rulers of foreigners. Foreigners who rule. That's basically what the Hyksos mean. That's before they said it meant what do they call them? Sheep. It was another title that was mistranslated. Anyway, let's see here. Going back down, it says the record of the crossing of the Red Sea was found, Exodus 14:10, 15:22. It says the Israelites moved out from Ramses in the northeast delta and went southeast to Succoth. They did not attempt to leave Egypt by the coastal highways known as the way of the land of the Philistines, the main military route to Canaan. And remember, the Philistines were Egyptians. They were a tribe of Egypt. That's why the Canaanites were put in subject, because the Egyptians had a pretty clean military campaign to landmass Canaan, because they had their cousins, the Philistines, as a buffer state. This is what was taking place. The Philistines was a buffer state for the Egyptians. They were ethnic cousins. They were brothers, actually. It says the Philistines, the main military route to Canaan. So we didn't go the main route. And if we went, guess what? The Philistines would have tried to kill us, because the Philistines were Egyptians. It says Philistines, the main military route to Canaan, and well fortified. The Philistines were already a well fortified personnel, even while we were in Egypt. Even when we were in the landmass of Egypt, the Philistines were already in the landmass of Canaan or Israel. So they were already strong. And that's why it was amazing that we overcame the Philistines and overcame the Canaanites. And David slayed Goliath. It says, from Succoth, they turned northward. And finding the way bared, they moved south to cross the sea. The crossing may well have taken place just north of the present-day Bitter Lakes area. The digging of the Suez Canal has not drained the region considerably, has now drained this region considerably. I misread that. There we go. Resulting in some original marshland disappearing. So they did that on purpose. The heathen, they did it for trade, but then they also want to destroy the ancient land format of that land, but it was a biblical land. It says, when the Israelites crossed this area, the marshlands would have been more extensive than the present land would indicate, and would have constituted of a formidable military barrier. It says the Lord, so it's showing you at that time the landmass, when people might go there now and be like, oh, if they're traveling and doing archaeology studies, or people who just studying the Bible, they might go to Egypt and look at the land like, oh, this is where they crossed. It looked like they could just walk through. But no, it's telling you that that's because of the Suez Canal. Back in that time period, that was a lot of water over there. So they did cross the Red Sea. See? It says the Lord drove the waters back by a strong east wind, so that there was dry land on which the Israelites could cross this area. Exodus 14:21. All right. You can see. Let me see. Therefore, data says you're from the land. So it was in the area of the Bitter Lakes. And it's the reason why it's called the Bitter Lakes, because that's where Pharaoh died. That's where great misery took place on the earth that the earth had never seen, not since the flood. That was when Egypt shut down. Egypt was like America. You know, if America shut down, everybody's economy is going to get collapsed. That's how it was in Egypt. These people, now it wasn't as interconnected as it is now. But a lot of people suffered when Egypt fell. It was a major trade hub. It says, no one knows exactly the name Red Sea came from. It may have been a mistake on one of the early Greek historians. Well, the point is made. This has been an extensive lesson. I don't want to bore you all. Solomon's commercial fleet at Ezra and Geber Elath. So see, because Solomon was winning. It says the Yom Suf, as mentioned above, it also used for the Gulf of Akbar, 1 Kings 9:26, in a reference to Solomon's commercial fleet at Ezion Geber Elath. So Solomon, I think he had a copper mine down there. I think there was a copper mine down there, right by the Red Sea. This area is archaeologists identified several times. It's possible a large. Oh, right there, it tells you. I seen it on a map, and they just said it. It says in this area, archaeologists have identified several sites as possible large copper and iron mines and furnaces. So we had mines and natural resources. Our economy was booming. We were winning. The discovery of mining sites in the Arabah north of the Gulf of Aqaba, dating from era of Solomon, together with the exploration of the Nabatean city of Ayla and Tel El Khalifa, have given archaeologists evidence that possibly identifies Ezion Geber on the Red Sea. Wow. These discoveries also show that the shoreline of the Gulf has remained almost where it was 3,000 years ago. See, but they couldn't destroy that shoreline. The Lord held it back. So that the shoreline of the Gulf, so if you want to see some good archaeology, go to the shoreline of the Gulf. It says, contrary to popular belief, that it had receded. So it didn't recede. That part of the sea didn't recede, but the part where they crossed, it did. We were, because of the Gulf of Suez, it changed certain parts of the water in a different area by the Red Sea. And so, yes, the Bible is real, man. For people who say the Bible isn't real, you're stupid. So with that, giving all praises, honor, glory, and worship to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the abundance to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to Yakim. Shalom, and keep the date. Pardon me, Shalom. I was looking at this. Shalom, and keep the faith. Shalom.